Thought I would do something a little bit different in this exclusive video. And depending upon the response, I'll decide whether I'm going to do more like this. This is, what I mean by response is not only the comments that I get from you guys, but how much attention it draws from the patrons and the members in general. I mean, I get a view number on the videos, and the last ones that I've done where I'm just talking, basically, view numbers are pretty low. So thought I would do some actual building in these and see how that goes. But it's going to be different from your typical build, because this is a build that I'm doing. I'm building a door, and I'm not going to show a lot of what you're going to be seeing in that video, because I already did a detailed video on building a door, and I put that on my home reno channel, and that did well. So I really don't see the need of duplicating it for the project that I'm doing. The main focus of the project that I'll be doing for this is the way the door is mounted. It's going to be like a barn door, sliding door type thing, where I'll be building the hardware that it rides on. I think that's the actual focus of the build video, and not so much the door. So, but I'm building the door, so I thought I would go into it in this video. So this is what I'm going to be building the door with. This is 1/2-inch plywood that I bought, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. This put in the back of my van. It's been in there ever since, probably longer than 2 weeks, actually. That's what I do. I kind of plan ahead for the projects, and then I have to kind of build up my nerve to do them. And it's not that I have a lack of confidence in my ability to do the project. It's that too many things can go wrong when you start filming, and then you're pulling your hair, like that vise, 3 weeks down the drain. Anyway, so 1/2-inch plywood, and I came up with a basic plan and SketchUp that what I want the door to do is just cover the hole. I have a closet in my office that looks like a mess, okay? It doesn't have any trim on it. It was supposed to have a swinging door on there first, but then I decided to do this instead, thinking it'd be more trendy, might get a few more views, and, well, bit interesting, more interesting. Also, it'll cover up all that mess, so that's a really good thing. So I have the basic size kind of pinned down. It has to be 36 inches wide, which is big for a door. And it's going to be 1.5 inches thick, because it's actually 3 layers of 1/2-inch plywood. So it's a little bit less than 1.5 inches actually. And 82 inches tall, which is fairly standard for a door. This one has to be a little bit taller. Typical residential interior door is around 80. This one's got to be a little bit higher so it covers the top of the opening, which is not trimmed and not, like, it's just raw drywall right now. So it looks pretty rough. And it's going to be the same, style as the other doors that I already made, in that it's going to be a panel door, one bigger one on the bottom, or no, smaller one on the bottom, bigger one on the top, and it's going to have that reveal trim that I use everywhere else in there as well. So I thought I would go into some of the stuff that, like pre-planning type thing. I got this idea, like, back when I started working in the office, back when I started getting the idea to finish the office, and I'm looking around at other things that need to be done. I did the front wall, of course. I did the ceiling. I need to build a cabinet for the printer, and with file drawers in there, and the closet. The closet's a mess, so I don't want to see it. I just want to slide the door over it and hide it type thing. So I already had the basic idea in my mind since then, but today, now I need to get, I need to make the plan more refined. I did a little bit in SketchUp, but I didn't get hung up in that. What I did was I came out here, and I'm not going to dig it out because it's buried under a bunch of crap. I took a board, I laid out that 38 inches, 38, 36 inches, and then I measured like, okay, if the stiles are going to be 6 inches wide, because I think they have to be for a door that big, then that leaves me with a 24-inch panel in the middle. And then since the panel doesn't have to go from edge to edge like I did with the other door, I only need to make that, say, 25 to just catch on the other side by ½ inch. And then since I have wood trim on the edge of the door, solid wood, which I'll be using. Again, I'm not going to dig it out because disaster strikes if I do that. I've got a piece of well-dried 2x8, it used to be, that's cut down, very clear, very straight, that I'll be using for the edges. And I can make that a ½ inch. So these are all things that I need to figure out before I start cutting so I won't waste the material. I've got 3 sheets of this stuff. I know I can get the door out of 2, maybe a little bit of a third sheet, but I don't want to waste it. So the first sheet that I'm going to be cutting here will be, I'll rip it to 23 inches wide. That leaves that piece that's 25 inches wide for the center panel. And then from that 23-inch piece, I'll be able to get the 4 stiles, the 2 for the front and the 2 for the back, that are, say, 5 and maybe 5.5, I think. I have to redo my math here a little bit better. Yeah, 5.5 will work. And that'll give me that ½ inch thick solid wood on the edge that I want. I could have probably saved myself some trouble by doing this beforehand. I could have cut the sheet to 82 and just to begin with, instead of ripping it the full length, and then it wouldn't have been too long for the room. But all part of the fun. So I'm going to use my straight edge guide here to shorten up this piece. This is the stiles piece. I think, yeah, it should be 23. It is. And then I can rip this one into 4 strips that are around 5.5. I'll see. I just got to go in and get my circular saw because I was using it inside my house recently. I was making trim, or I was putting trim around the doors. I started sanding the floor in areas. This is what held me up from putting the trim on the doors, was that the floor, I was undecided what I was going to do with the floor. So recently I decided to sand it. I tested it to see how it looks, and then I kind of liked it. It looks way better than it did, so I'll go with that. If I want to do something else with it in the future, then I'm open to do that. But in the meantime, this is the lowest cost way to fix it. So sanding it, and now I'm putting the trim around the doors in the areas that it's sanded, in my usual style of not completely finishing one thing before moving on to the next. I know that quite a few of you probably do the same thing. All right, both sheets cut the length. I don't know if I mentioned this in the first part of this video, but this door is not going to be painted like the other ones. This is going to be stain grade, so I want it to look good, at least on one side. That's the side that faces the room, of course. And the thing about this plywood is it looks decent on one side. I've got a bit of a repair here on this one that I didn't see up until now. I did see these putty things here, but the bottom rail will cover that. This repair is just going to have to be This is going to have to be a character mark for the door. And I'll see it every time I walk into the room. But the door is going to get a clear finish. If it was going to get stained, then I would do something to get this, like take this out of here. I would take a router and I would make an inlay type of thing that would look a little bit more natural than this. And maybe that would be a good topic for a video at some point. But for this, you know, I'm not going to bother. So what I need to do next is I need to sand this reasonably smooth. I mean, it is smooth to begin with, but I need to take it up to 220. I need to get rid of some marks that are on here. You know, when you buy stuff at the home center, it's dirty, it's scuffed up, it has scrapes across it where people slid the other sheet out on top of it or whatever. And sanding it gets rid of that. Okay, that is the stiles, which are the vertical members of the door, and the panel done, cut out, ready to go, ready to put together. What I need now is the rails for both sides, and I think the bottom, I gotta make the bottom 10. You always want to make the bottom rail higher than the other two rails above, and it gives the door kind of symmetry. I'm looking over at my door on the shop here, but I don't know how much was ever cut off the bottom of that, but even so, the bottom is taller. So 10 for the bottom rail, and I like to make the other rails match the style. So I actually cut these to 5 5/8, trying to get like the maximum out of it. You can see the amount of waste I got from that. It's like less than 1/4 of an inch, so that's good. So what I'll do is I'll cut, like, I don't know what I was thinking. There's no way that I'd need 3 sheets for this. I have 3 sheets, which is good. I need to use the other sheet for something else, but I'll definitely get like the full door out of the rest of this. I'm thinking that I should cut this one. Trying to do the math in my head here, and it's not working. I haven't had enough coffee yet this morning. If I cut a strip that's 10, what I really want to do is I want to cut the thing in half first, like I did with the first sheet, because it makes it easier to handle. And then I have an edge that's not 100% straight. I still have the factory edge on both pieces, which makes it good. So if I was to take the sheet up, this full sheet up here, and try to cut a strip that's 10 inches off, then I'd wind up with a very shitty cut on that 10-inch mark, and that would be on the side of the one that I want, and it'd be also on the edge of the piece that's left over. So I'm trying to think what I would need it for, other projects that I would need it for. What's the best size to cut it to initially? What I settled on was 16, so I'll have the 10, and I have 6 inches left over to cut another strip that's the same width as this, the 5 5/8. Okay, I think I have all of the major components that need to be ripped. So all I need to do now is cross-cut the parts that I need, the rails actually, and I get out my telescoping stop block and set that to 23 3/4 right here. Tighten that up and that should be good. I will make a mark. Just, you know what, I don't need to make a mark. That's sort of, you know, people, you watch people building, especially newer woodworkers, measurements are important, right? But what's more important about this thing here is that it be close to my intended measurement, as in very close to 23 3/4, but it doesn't have to be precisely that. The main thing is that all of these parts that I'm about to cut are the same length, because they all need to be the same length. The two 10-inch rails on the bottom and the 4, 5 and 5/8 inch rails above. So that's what counts. That's all I had to say. But I'm going to check it anyway. 23 3/4, because you know what? It's all about, I hate this tape. You know what I hate about this tape? I hate this thing in here. They put this thing here and it obscures the 1/4 inch mark. If you see everywhere else, the 1/4 inch mark is slightly longer, and so you can easily pick it out. But here they've got this dark area here, and it goes, and you can't pick it out. So whoever designed this is an idiot. That's the problem with designing things these days. People that don't use it design it. So whoever came up with that design is an idiot. Never used the tape ever. Probably only understands metric. Doesn't even understand what the heck these fraction things are here. There, that's your rant for this video. I gotta look over or under my glasses so I can see. Yeah, see, I had that marked wrong. I had that marked to 23 11/16. So I'd slide that over to my stop, and I'd get all confused, you know. I would say, what the heck? But that's wrong anyway. What's going on? Is my stop wrong? Oh, I haven't got, yeah, I got to turn that around. I'm an idiot. At least okay, if I hadn't have done that. So yes, children, always measure. It's very important. It's very important. Don't take anything for granted. See, there you go. That's right. I don't like doing that, by the way. Having this piece free between the blade and the thing. This is where kickback can happen. That's the reason why I let the saw come to a stop. Because you notice it fell down a little bit because the board was curved up. And when it falls down a little bit, of course, it gets longer and it pushes against the side of the blade. And if you try to lift it up that way, it could hook the thing up and pull it into this, and bad things would happen. At least I would get scared. All right, it's time for some assembly. Looking at this to see how straight it is, it looks pretty straight. The thing about this plywood is that it's not straight, but this particular piece here, I was selective. That's the reason why I picked this piece, even though it had a defect that I didn't see. I looked at how straight it was. The other two were much crookeder. And crooked, okay, I can work with crooked for the stiles and the rails and stuff, because of course the rails are shorter, so any warpage in there will be minimized by the length. Whereas this panel here should be as flat as it possibly can be. And to help that along, I want to put something underneath here. When I was making the doors before, I had a piece of plywood. I think I got a piece of MDF down there, but I can't say how straight that is. Instead, I have these, bending over. Bend over. What's your name? Bend over. That's a bathroom joke. You know, bathroom joke, bend over, or shower joke. prison shower joke. I don't know. I haven't been to prison yet. But I'm still young, relatively. I can get there if I try. Yeah, these ones here, I was using these for trim, despite all the holes. I've been filling the holes with what the fuck is it called? It's called drywall compound. It's filling the holes with drywall compound. It's tedious, annoying. I have to fill it once, and then it sucks into the hole. I have to fill it again, and I sand it, and prime it, and then paint it. And then by the time I paint it again, it's shrunk in a little bit more because I don't know what happens there. It's almost like the wood swells out around it, so I have to sand it and fill it again. And it's not really worth it. I got all this wood here. I spent like 2 days out back there cutting it up and planing it. And now I have to work extra. It's not worth it. This wood, unless you're willing to use it exactly like it is, it's not worth messing with. There's just too much work involved. It's not worth it. I'm a sucker for punishment, though. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten these two up so that they're not, they're not longer than they need to be. For the trim inside the house, like the doors in there are 81, roughly. So 86, 87. 87 to be safe. I say 80, 88 to be safe. Let's be safer. Let's be more safer. And I'll cut both of those the same length, and that way they're not taking up all the space I have in my small shop. If I had a shop like an airplane hangar, then we'll be talking. But I don't. I'd still find a way to mess that up, wouldn't I? My last shop was way bigger than this one, and didn't seem like I had any more space in there. Not really. So how effectively you use the space, And this is what I've been trying to do. Alrighty then. I got one for one side and one for the other. And that should keep it straight enough. Because when you glue the parts on, you want to clamp it so that it stays straight. Fuck you! Fuck. Ah! See, this is not straight. Anyway, who cares? It's just a door in my office. At some point, you have to give up on your standards a little bit, just to get the job. I learned this in construction many years ago. I was a young idealist, everything was going to be perfect. I was going to work, and kind of spoiled a little bit because some of the first jobs that I did, the super was really demanding as to the quality of the work that he got from you. And that's generally not the case. They just want to get the stuff done. They don't care about how good it's or well it's done. They just want it done. They want the results. And I don't blame them. Because one thing I learned through all those years working through that, very few people, the owners don't really appreciate a very well done job. They just want to get it done. They want to get it acceptable. So, kind of good for me and kind of bad because it impacted the rest of my life, the way I do things. I'm not as idealistic as some people are. It's not that I'm cutting corners, it's that I'm eliminating work that doesn't have to be done. Whatever, shut up and just do this, John. What are you waiting for? I think that's supposed to be 5/8. so that this will be 5/8, and then the space in between would be 23 3/4 is what these things are supposed to be. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp that on as a guide, just so I don't screw up. Okay, I'm getting close to the end of the first phase, which is this side of the door, getting it basically put together. And I'm selecting the better pieces for this. I made a mistake here, and I included this chopped out part rather than cutting off this end. I cut off the other end. Anyway, so it really doesn't matter because it'll be on the inside. I can put it on the inside. And since this is a closet, no one can get inside the closet. Well, people can get inside the closet, you know, the people can get inside there. But nobody's going to get in there and look at the back of the door. They're not going to be able to see the back of the door. So the back of the door can be a big steaming pile of crap, and nobody will know it. Okay, so we'll concentrate all of our efforts at making it pretty on the front of the door, you know. And it's looking good so far. It's looking really good, okay? I've actually had to clamp temporarily these pieces on top of the spring clamps to try to counteract the bow that's in the piece of wood there. When I get it, like this piece will go on the back side and it will be fastened there, and that'll straighten it out permanently. But in the meantime, I don't want the glue that I have on there now to dry with it bowed, because then it'll be even harder to counteract that after. So I'm just going to add this one on here, very much like I did on the other side. I kind of screwed myself a little bit by making this panel as narrow as I did, because there's not much here to support this. And what I did on the other side over there is I put outriggers to help support the thing, at least until the glue's set up enough. And what I'm going to do now is, well, what I did there is I had to change my battery because it went dead. And I went in and I took a short break for half an hour. When I came out, the glue was set up enough that it could hold itself up and I can carry on. What I'm going to do here is attach this one, and then I'm going to go in and have lunch. And then by the time I come back out again, this will be set up enough that it'll support itself. Yes, absolutely. And I'm able to use real wood glue in this because I've turned up the heat in here to 10 degrees Celsius. Virtually toasty in here. Not only did I have my lunch, but I also had a chance to read some of the comments on my video I posted last night and felt the need to come out and make that channel trailer video. So I went in, I quickly edited that and uploaded it, and I don't know, probably won't make a damn bit of difference, but it made me feel a little bit better. I mean, come on, people. It's simple. This is a different channel. Oi, anyway, so I cleared off all the clamps. Everything's dry here, by the way. I cleared off all the clamps and I'm ready to flip it over. But before I do that, I'm going to fill all the nail holes with some putty. I've also got a bit of a gap over here where it didn't quite close together exactly. And the filler will work for that as well. So I'll get that smoothed in and then I'll flip it over and I'll start working on the other side. Okay, got them all filled up and the door flipped over. The reason why I did the filling now is that while the glue is drying on this side with it all clamped up, the filler will have a chance to dry on the other side so that when I take the clamps off this and can flip it back over again to the side that actually matters, I can sand that. It'll be ready to sand after I put the trim around the panels, that is. Over on this side, to continue assembly, I have to install these strips on the outside edge of the stiles. This differs from the door that I made before in that I'm using this. What I did with the other one was I made a T-shaped solid wood piece that slipped in, and that was problematic, to say the least. So this, I think, will save not only time with milling those parts, because all I need to do is now just make a rectangular cap instead. It'll also, you know, make everything line up better because I can take my time to line these things up and shouldn't have any problem. These get glued and nailed on. All right, so what I just did was I recut these edges out here, even with the strip to help me line it up. Still wasn't absolutely as perfect as I wanted it to be. So I just set up a straight edge and I ran the saw along it and I straightened everything up neatly. What I've got going on here now is I've got those boards that I had laid flat before standing up on edge, and they're on my workbench. And they're supporting this door flat so that it stays flat. And and another purpose of this is that it allows me to rip the cap material for the edge, which I want to put on next. And it also allows me to make the trim pieces because they can go underneath the door here. And between the bottom of the door, the face of the door, and the workbench, there's space there. Just want to get a couple of clamps on here to make sure that it doesn't fall down, because that'd be bad. Okay, I've got both caps cut. I'm getting ready to put them on. I'm getting some glue on here. And because these, like this door doesn't get any hinges or any other kind of metal hardware like a lock set or anything like that, I'm going to put this cap on using brads, 1 1/4 inch ones that I got loaded into the gun. And this is a little bit thicker than the thickness of the door itself. Just recall that plywood is a little bit less than 1.5 inches. And I'm just going to put a clamp over here to hold that up while I get this end fastened first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it as flush to the front as I possibly can and leave it stick out a little bit on the back, and then I can just plane that down and then sand the front, because this is already smooth. This has already been planed. Hammer. Okay, so I got the other cap on the other side over there, and then I cut the trim roughly to the right thickness, and the thickness that this is the same as the thickness of the plywood. And what I need to do now, after I cut them to length too, like they are cut to rough length for the places that they need to go. And remember, I only got to do the other side, so this is all I need, which is good, because I didn't have enough to do the other side as well. So what I got to do next is I've got my router table pulled out here, and I'm going to mill the recess in the edge. There's a little rabbet that I need to cut in, and this is what I call a reveal trim. Reveal detail is what I used on the other plywood doors that I made. It's also in my kitchen on the doors there. It's kind of a common design element that I'm putting throughout the house, so for consistency, and it'll be here. So I want to do that on I could do it on the table saw, but I'll probably get a little bit cleaner cut on the router, so that's why I have this set up. All right, moving right along. I'm ready to flip the door over, and a little bit tricky because it's up on those boards. It can't be that heavy. It's less than. Oh. Sorry, I hit the mic. I was trying to say it's less than 2 sheets of plywood, 1/2-inch plywood, so it can't be that heavy. Now I can see what I have here is a little bit of a gap, which I'm gonna have to fill. So me filling the nail holes on the other side over here could have been done at this point too, because obviously I've got to fill up that gap. So what I'll do is I'll fill up that gap with filler. And then I'll put the trim, which I've already split down the middle, and I actually sanded the edges that show. The inside plywood here, because of this reveal and because it's up against that plywood, a little bit of that's going to show, but I don't think, it doesn't, like there's not enough there to say that that's plywood. I mean, it looks like you're mostly seeing that top layer of veneer. So it's gonna be all right. Another fairly popular way to fill gaps like this, especially small ones, is to squeeze a little bit of glue in there and then either spread some sawdust in there or sand it and let the sawdust go inside there. And that's effective to a degree, if you don't mind still seeing that like a ghost of the gap, because that almost always winds up being darker because of the glue. And this is a method I'm sure that every single woodworker, when they're starting out and they discover that, unless they read it somewhere, they think they invented it. Yeah, I don't mind doing that on things that don't matter or it's going to get painted, but anything that's going to get clear finish that you're going to actually see in front of you, that gap is going to stand out. If you fill it with sawdust, get the correct color filler like this, and it blends right in. It's very difficult to see after it gets a clear finish. Stain might be a different thing. You might be better off in some cases to leave the gap there and then get a wax stick that matches the stain color that you used rather than try to fill it up, because the stain will always go darker into the filler. The filler is way more porous than the wood is, so it'll always show up darker. All right, last piece of trim. Didn't show me putting any of this in because I covered this before. Basically exactly the same thing again. The trim goes in and it looks like it's in backwards because the reveal is up against the edge here. But that is the look that I'm going for with this. You know, it's, I don't know, it gives a little bit of dimension there that it normally doesn't have. And I was questioning whether I was going to be able to get this door done today. And the John of 10 years ago, 15 years ago would laugh at that. Of course I'm going to get the door done today. But these days, I don't know. It's a big job. Anyway, it's all done. All I need to do is give it about an hour or so for the filler that I put into the seam to dry, and then I can sand it. And I'm going to sand it nice on this side. I'm not going to bother with doing anything on the other side because, like I said, it's a closet. And I could probably push it and get the first coat of water-based polyurethane on here too, at least on the front. I'm going to do the back side as well, just to block moisture and keep it from cupping after it's installed. But I think what I'm going to do is wait until tomorrow to do all that. Probably I'll come out in the morning, bring it into the house and do it in there where it's warmer and it'll dry faster, and I can get 3 coats on all tomorrow and get that done. And in the meantime, I can come back out and work on the hardware. But I'm going to wrap this one up here. I'm going to see about getting this video posted in the next couple of days. It's going to take a little while to edit it, not long. And as for this one, I'm really pushing it for this weekend, Sunday, hopefully. Now that I have the door done and it's actually Wednesday, hardware tomorrow, plus finishing the door. Shouldn't be a problem. Get all the hardware done tomorrow. Hung on Friday, and all I need to do is basics, you know, getting the stuff in place and all that. So not a whole lot to that. And then that leaves me with all of Saturday to get everything else done, including the video. So I don't know, it's going to be tight. We'll see.